Hi, I just want to do a quick talk about Haiyan, the typhoon when it hit the Philippines. Um, what I would want to say is from my own experiences, I think the outside world had a different picture of the reality. Um, it was horrendous there. I know several people that went to Lady. We lost one of our friends there. When I say lost, we couldn't find him, but eventually did manage to get hold of him, and his family were safe, as well as him. But the people that went out there, they come back different. You know, the stench of the bodies in the street, um, it changed the way they thought about things. Um, but at the same time, I would like to say that I think the people that were doing the disaster preparedness got a lot of flack. What I'm talking about is the people that were on the ground, the police, the people that were actually moving people to the shelters and things like that. The people that were monitoring the streets for fires and basic safety, because they would have been the first victims, and I don't think they got enough recognition for what they did. If anything, politicians are whining that where are these people, blah blah blah, in a negative way, when the fact is the politicians were tucked up somewhere nice, while these people were actually in very dangerous situations. I won't go on about it too much because it's up to the Philippines itself to deal with that sort of problem, but they really need to, I think, recognize the people that did give their lives that day. Um, but from what I seen, in Mingley we got hit, but not very bad. As soon as it started to clear, I was out in the road because I was checking for power lines and things like that. And I got to my first main road, and there was already a guy, full yellow jacket, full waterproofs. He was like telling me to put a helmet on for safety, blah blah blah. And literally looking to my right, the police car was coming past, checking for damage on the road, stuff like that. They were on the road already. They would have probably been there most of the time throughout the storm. The police were riding around, that sort of thing. Look, they're doing their job, and that's why I say it's important that these people get recognized on Leyte, the ones that died, because they would have been the first victims, but they were also doing it to save other people's lives. Um, but the fact was, as soon as it was clearing in Minglanilla, they were cutting out the trees from the power lines, getting things back up. The power company was out. It was very, very swift and responsible. And the other thing was, people weren't complaining. We had no power. No power means no water, because the water can't be pumped from the reservoir. So for us, everyone just sat around the mango tree and had beer and just chilled out. Because what you gonna do? You can't even shower. Um, but that's the thing. It's a lot more laid back than probably the UK would be. I'm sure if the power was off, people would be on the phone complaining. But after the typhoon and that, everyone's just like, it'll come on when it comes on. Because we lost we lost everything. Telephones were down as well. But when we did the when we realized how bad it was in the north of Cebu, we decided we had to do something. So, because for me, what I looked at is that my family was safe, my buildings were safe, and if the storm had changed direction slightly, I could have been one of the guys that lost everything. So for me, um, basically, we gave up maybe $2,000, something like that, to get the aid moving. And while we got it running, other people got involved, started donating from abroad, and we managed to get enough to to tag along with another convoy at the same time, and we headed up north to take our aid relief. And one of the things I would say is doing it, it was quite a humbling experience because you suddenly realized that the most people helping Filipinos at the time was not government, not local government, and the international aid hadn't arrived yet. What it was Filipinos and Filipino businesses were helping the people in these areas. And I'm not talking like just one run. They were running out. They were running constantly. The yellow truck we used had been running to northern Cebu for 2 weeks already by different groups. Because it was our government truck. It's for the solid waste management in our town, and they turned around and it'd been seconded for 2 weeks nonstop, just going up there and back every day, taking aid from different groups. So on our trip, when we went up there, the roads were congested. I mean, heavily congested because there's so much aid heading north. Because companies were taking out their entire fleets at the weekends and things and sending them all north. They're still sending food and stuff during the week, but at the weekends, on like a Sunday, they're not doing deliveries and stuff, so everything is mobilized. Now you imagine as a company, you're not only giving up the vehicle, the fuel cost, but also an entire truck full of aid. It's quite expensive, but they were doing it, and I'm not talking one or two. The roads were congested, so that was quite an experience to see. A, that was going on, but B, I don't think they got enough recognition for what was going on internally in the country. Charities are too busy chasing the paychecks off donations. They don't want to hear that people are actually helping each other. It's not good for business. Um, I hate charities. Very few charities I like will help. I don't mind donating a bit of time, but I would not give money because of the administration charges and excessive salaries that a lot of the people that run them are getting. But that's another story for another time. But the other thing, when we got headed north, nearly every telegraph pole was down, every power pole. There was a shortage of water, internet's down, and the further we got into these areas, the worse the buildings looked. It looked like an apocalypse. When we got to Tindog, it wasn't a town anymore. It looked like something from a B movie. It'd been attacked by aliens or something. It was just wiped out. But the strange thing is when we went and delivered the aid, people queued quietly. They didn't complain, and when they collect their aid, they're not grumbling about what they got or anything else. They're not even looking at what they got. They're just thankful that. First thing I noticed was everyone said thank you, which is, from what's going on, you think there'd be, other things are on their mind, but Filipinos are generally very resilient people. And I would say that because of the religion thing, there's a bit of the whole hope thing going on. But I actually think that it's already ingrained in Filipinos generally, before religion interfered in their lives, because Filipinos are just generally friendly people, and I think the disaster is looked at from a positive way, not negative. So the way the people were looking at it is not that they lost their house and everything but the shirt in their back, but the fact they're still alive. That's it. So the focus is not on the bad stuff. It's the fact is we're still alive. We rebuild. We'll work our way through this. But the next thing with that is this aid coming north. They were thankful they were not forgotten. They weren't expecting this help. They were, they were they were like overwhelmed and happy that people actually cared. It's a bit odd for me because only the only white guy there, so a lot of people come to thank me personally, but it wasn't me. It was like a group thing. There was a lot of people helping, but it was quite a humbling experience because with with everything they lost everything, but their only focus was on A, they just pick up their stuff, B, be thankful for everything, and then they just went on their way. Now, that for me is one of those things you never forget, but B, it it's what makes everything worthwhile. Because it was quite strange that when we were up there, because we had the other guys that left the call center a while back, and we bumped into several people that worked for us. One of them was there with some rescue team. There, it's another. It's not a government thing. They were there helping people rebuilding their houses and looking what they needed. They were there, they were like a disaster relief group. But it's just funny, you're miles away from where you are, but it shows the extent of how people think and help each other in the Philippines, how far they would go. Um, I mean, a lot of these guys have got nothing to start with, but they would give what they do have to help another. That's one of the beautiful things about the Filipino people, um, that haven't been corrupted with the iPhone mentality. Um, they still have that that community spirit that's alive and well. Um, and there's no financial gain on that level because it's all person to person. There's no money's not changing hands. It's goods, and the people are actually giving it properly. They're doing it themselves. They're not giving it to a third party to use and abuse. So I was really impressed with that, and when I got back, there was like other stuff going on where we're trying to help, and suddenly I ended up connected with a lot of people I never knew before, and you find out how much other people care and what they're doing. We're trying to get helicopters, um, some aid for mothers and toddlers and babies for the relief centers in Cebu, because obviously people are coming in from other islands because of, you know, these places are wiped out. There's nothing there. They needed, they're going to the cities where they're hoping that they can do something. One thing I would say is I hope nobody buys any water from those water stations that were charging up to 6 times the normal price of water because they still had it. Um, I know in the UK, people have long memories and they'd probably be bankrupt now, but in the Philippines, I think they're too forgiving sometimes. But yeah, it was quite a humbling experience, and I would say be wary of giving money to charities, but if you actually know somebody that's there and you can trust them to do something, I would go direct. Um, because so little of the money that goes via charities actually reaches the people it should that I actually think they should be disbanded as charities. When you have 70% administration charges and other nonsense, it gets to the point where it's just not worthwhile. Anyway, I'm not going to go any further on this because it's already 14 minutes long. But thanks for watching.